Hello, welcome to Secure Talk, your trusted source of information on the latest threats, trends, tools, and technology related to cybersecurity and compliance. Join our hosts as they discuss a wide range of topics and speak with leading cybersecurity, technology, and compliance experts. Now is the time for Secure Talk.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Secure Talk. Secure Talk is brought to you by adaQuest, your cybersecurity and compliance partner. My name is Mark Schreiner, and I'll be your host for this episode of Secure Talk. And today, we're going to be talking with João Couto, who is the Director of Operations for adaQuest in Brazil. And João's going to tell us about the cybersecurity market or industry or outlook in Brazil, and also let us know some of the things that he's working on and make some observations about opportunities in the Brazil market. João, how are you today?
So, thank you, Mark. I'm very excited with this opportunity to be talking to you today. And it's my first month second month in adaQuest. So I'm completing in next week, my second month. And it seems I'm here for already a year.
Because you've been really, really busy, and I want to talk about that. But before we jump into what you're doing with adaQuest and
my background,
I want to talk a little bit about your background. I mean, you've worked for a variety of companies, so maybe you can just give us a high-level overview of the type of work that you've been doing. Okay.
Well, I have been in the security market for 15 years. My last experiences were in Dimension Data in Brazil. It's a huge integrator worldwide, but I was responsible for the pre-sales and consulting in security for Brazil in Dimension Data. Before that, I was in João Couto as an sales engineer, responsible for the federal government and all over Brazil. But since I'm based in Brasilia, I was responsible for all the federal government, and it was a very nice time there. And before that, I stayed for 3 years and a half in McAfee as a sales engineer based in Brasilia, responsible for the federal government, but not only the federal government, but traveling all over Brazil and being with every kind of vertical, from telcos to oil and gas to the government, as I said, and
you do have a very broad and deep experience in terms of the security industry. What is the awareness level in Brazil compared to, say, maybe the U.S. or Europe, in terms of cyber threats? Are organizations very concerned, or is it something that is becoming increasingly concerning for them? I mean, where is it at?
Well, companies are concerned, and we have experienced in Brazil, as all over the world, the problems of ransomware, for example, in the last 2 years, and there has been some huge leakages of information and user data, and that's really a problem. The big difference, I think, there are two big differences, in my opinion. The first big difference is that we are kind of 2 years late in terms of implementing and using new technologies and new ways of securing the information. So, for example, when we talk about moving to the cloud, we are a lot late compared to United States, for example. And the second thing is that we don't have too many regulations here in Brazil. We don't have too many enforcement since we don't have the regulations. And it's kind of changing now because of the GDPR and the Brazilian GDPR, that's the LGPD that we call here in Brazil. And so it's interesting because we are in a moment of inflection. We see it's very important to invest in security. All the companies in Brazil see that because of the main incidents we have been passing through the last years and until now today. And although we don't have all this compliance regulations and things like that, because of this new law, that's the GDPR, the Brazilian GDPR, things are changing, and the not only the IT people are concerned about it, but it's a top of mind subject to CEOs, to CFOs, to different kind of people in the companies, and it's the right moment to be able to offer this kind of service here in Brazil as well,
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like I wouldn't call it a crisis, but it is an inflection point, and it's
Yes.
a great time because organizations are probably, just like here, a lot of organizations here, and by here I mean in the US, a lot of organizations have been asking questions about GDPR and how do we prepare and what do we need to do, right? And so, you've got the LGPD, and I want to come back to that in a second. But let's first go back to the type of threats that you're seeing. You mentioned ransomware. What are the attack vectors? I mean, here in the U.S., for example, social engineering still is one of the leading attack vectors, right? And then there's patch hygiene, for example. I mean, is it the same in Brazil? Is it just the basics, password hygiene as well, or are you seeing different types of attacks?
Well, we see all this kind of attacks as well, but there is a point that is important to put our eyes on here in Brazil, is that our banking system, it's very evolved here in Brazil. It's very avant-garde, and the same is with our hackers to try to steal information and to steal money from the financial and banking systems that are already evolved. So there are so many different ways that we here in Brazil have to deal with money, to pay like bills and to transfer money from a bank to another, and all these different ways are as well possible vectors to collect information and to even steal really money. So, well, I don't know if I'm being clear with this, but not only we have all the same that everywhere we have like ransomware, as you said, like all the web application vulnerabilities that are a real problem, database leakage as well, but there are some nice and different like vulnerabilities and possible ways of getting hacked related to the Brazilian banking system. So,
well, that's interesting because I mean, I think banks are a target everywhere, but I wouldn't say, for example, in the U.S. that they are more highly targeted than other organizations. And here, maybe the perception, I'm not a hacker, so I don't know, but maybe the perception is, banks may be a little bit harder target to penetrate because the thought that they would invest more heavily and more early on security. That's probably not always the case, but based upon the types of banking that it's used in Brazil, it sounds like there are more opportunities for the hackers, or they've seen that. Sorry, I cut you off. Were you going to say something?
Yeah. No, yeah. Another important thing to say about this is that since we don't have all the compliance and the regulations, we have huge problems with, for example, basic things as keeping the SOs updated, for example, and not using weak passwords, or there is still a huge problem with the back end. How is the desktop configured? How is the user using it, or is it in a secure way? Is the user understanding where he's going and where he's putting his sensitive information? So it's not only the hackers that have different ways or places to attack, but it's kind of, let's say, easier to find a target, since there are too many not updated computers and not very let's see, users understanding well how to use the technology. That's something to put a difference between I see Brazil and United States in general.
Well, that's interesting. And earlier you mentioned that the cloud adoption or migrations to the cloud were maybe a couple of years behind the U.S.
Yes.
And you kind of tied that into security, and now with LGPD,
Sure.
that there's kind of a more awareness and a drive. But another lever for organizations to move to the cloud is just the economics, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
the simplicity of not having to maintain your own. Sometimes it's infrastructure as a service or a platform as a service. So are companies in Brazil becoming aware of those benefits as well? And why is it taking them so long to become aware?
At first, I think there were, and still there is, a huge problem with not knowing exactly where the data will be located, and if it's not located inside Brazil. And this is a huge problem, not only to the government, but to each and every company, Brazilian company. And it's been changing. I
So, I
see,
mean,
you
there
know,
must be, I would think, a large number of data centers in Brazil.
yes, there are. But when I talk about the public cloud, like the using Azure for example, the problem is, but until a couple of years ago, or some time ago, it were not possible for us to say, okay, I want to use the Azure infrastructure located in Brazil, and it has a different price, we know, but it's important for us to do it. And a couple of years ago, it was not even like common to talk right to the guys who make decisions about public cloud, and because it wouldn't get to these guys, since there were all these concerns about where the data will be, and that's, in my opinion, were and keeps being like the biggest concern. It's changing the last 2 years, in my opinion, because not only the public clouds have been modernizing itself and being more and more used for by all the companies all over the world, but more than that, it's too extremely cheaper, and now, since it's possible for us to talk a little deeper with these guys about, and that's the point, about security, and about how, even though it's not located in Brazil, or even though we don't know exactly where the data are located, but we can assure that it will be safe, and this secure will be guaranteed by this and that technology. So today it's more likely for me as an engineer to get to these guys who make decisions, to show them and to make them feel themselves like more safe to go to public clouds, much more than it were in 2 or 3 years ago. And when you talk about money, it gets like crazy because they just don't understand why they didn't make this decision before, since it's so different in terms of expenses,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think a lot of you know service providers like adaQuest have, they understand that the main driving factors for an organization to choose a particular platform is, the productivity, security, and cost, right? And let's just put productivity aside because we're not. This is not a show about productivity. Our Secure Talk is more focused on obviously security and to some degree
Sure.
cost. What is adaQuest doing, or what do you do to help your customers understand the impact on security and the total cost of ownership for shifting workloads or infrastructure to the cloud? What kind of work can you do to help them realize that or see that?
Well, it's our biggest offer here in Brazil to put intelligence in a way to map all the customer infrastructure, and after mapping where he is now, we can show them how would it be, or how would it cost, and what would it be putting like adding value if we moved
Yeah, but
the infrastructure.
you're dealing with some very large organizations in Brazil. I mean, how do you
Yeah.
map out their infrastructure? Do you have some kind of automated tool that you're using, or
Oh, for sure.
okay?
We're using Movir. Movir is the tool that we use here in Brazil, as well as we use United States to do this assessment, and it not only has the view of like the infrastructure of the usage of VMs and processors and memory and disks, but it has as well a view of security. For example, how long has your users or how is the behavior of your users concerning resetting passwords, or how long is a user that has been fired uh, being still connecting or logging in to the infrastructure, or well, we can have a lot of different insights concerning security as well, and then we can show the customers not only the value to move to the cloud is not only about money, but it's too much about how they get more secure in moving to the cloud, and how it's too much easier and faster to get compliant to these new laws of GDPR and LGPD, only moving to the cloud as well. So I don't know if I've been clear, but we use Movir, and it shows us a lot of nice insights.
Yeah, I mean it's
Oh,
tough to
security
argue
as well.
with those insights. You can sit around in a conference room and you can whiteboard things out, and you can talk about trends in terms of shifting workloads to the cloud. You can talk about digital transformation, but when you get an actual cost benefit analysis and you see, oh, if we shift this to the
Yes.
cloud, our total cost of ownership is going to drop, and we'll be able to optimize our utilization of the resources that we're paying for. We can do just-in-time infrastructure, so we only pay for what we need when we need it. And if you can model that, it becomes based upon what they're currently using, not just some third party
Yes.
case study, but you say, hey, look, here's what you have,
Yeah.
here's what you're paying, here's your existing security posture, which does have some gaps in it, and here's what it would be tomorrow if we shifted everything. It's pretty convincing. Do you still see some pushback, or is this helping organizations to make those decisions?
A lot, because we put money into this talk. We say, okay, you have today this infrastructure, and it costs us for you X. and then if you move, you will have this less cost, and it will not only you will spend less money, but you will get compliant to this and that and that and that, and all this move not only to the cloud but to a compliant infrastructure or environment. It would cost, I don't know, thousands of dollars, and just by moving, the customer already have this evolution, So it's crazy to see how, as I said, how they ask themselves why they didn't started doing this before, and that it has been amazing.
Well, yeah, and I mean, you're dealing with organizations in Brazil, 10, 15,000 employees. The costs across an organization like that, and then
Yes.
the potential savings must be huge. You did mention, a couple times LGBT, which is the Brazilian version of GDPR, and you mentioned that as a driver. Are organizations, is that actually being enforced, or when will it start to be enforced, if not?
It's starting to be enforced on February next year, and enforced, I say, like taxes and penalties. The moment today is for the companies to get started, and in my opinion, the companies that haven't started yet, they are already late, because we have we are already in April. It's kind of half a year, let's say, to get prepared, or a little more than 6 months. So it's very little time, and it's very important to, well, and I have been asked to do assessments and to help customers showing about where they are and doing roadmaps to get compliant each and every week, and it's getting crazy how much it's been demanded here in Brazil. So I can say that the companies are aware of the importance, and there are a huge demand here to solve this kind of necessity and opportunity.
And I'm sure that just like GDPR, LGBT doesn't just impact Brazilian companies. It impacts companies who are doing business in Brazil as well. So if you've got American or European companies that are doing processing or
Sure.
data, personal data, then they need to be compliant as well, right?
Sure. It's the same as the GDPR. I see it's kind of common to see new laws based on GDPR and done by each and every country. So since we have companies that make business with all over the world, and then it's kind of I see it's kind of a worldwide pattern of data privacy law. And yes, each and every company that is in Brazil but makes business with other companies will have to be compliant with this. So it's something that it's needed to everybody. It's not an option.
Well, and you're lucky because you have one national law. In America, man, we've got 50 state laws that we have to kind of navigate and figure out, which keeps everybody guessing. Well, actually, I shouldn't say we have 50 state laws. Some states don't even have regulations. Some states have regulations that are pretty much in alignment with GDPR, and then some that are completely much more lax, I should say. So, depending on where your business is, and if you're only doing business in one state and that state has lax laws, you probably don't have to worry about it. But now we have customers out in California and they've got some relatively strict laws. Well, guess what? So it's kind of it's a bit challenging navigating the domestic regulatory environment here. Hey, so what, I mean, Brazil is such a huge market. It's a huge country. What advice would you give to CISOs, whether they're working for Brazilian organizations or they're working for foreign multinationals in Brazil? What advice would you give to them?
To CISOs, well,
Yes.
since we don't have a regulatory organization or things like that in Brazil, I would advise them to follow like the NIST 853. I think that's the a guidance to understand how to deal with information security, and to move to the cloud if they haven't moved yet. And doesn't matter what cloud it is, it's important to understand that today, and not only today but for the last years, it's the best option if you want to have the basics of security, that it's confidentiality, availability, and integrity. So not only to be compliant, but to spend less, to be sustainable. That's very important. Most companies, they buy their infrastructure thinking about the worst case, and that's what makes them always paying a lot. And well, that's a not sustainable way of dealing with the technology. And so that's something that I would suggest to do, is to consider going to the cloud and using all the benefits that there are there, and that's important for us here in Brazil. If it's not too much thing for you in United States, but here in Brazil, it makes a lot of sense to talk about this.
Well, that's some great advice. Let me ask you this. I mean, do you ever advise a company not to go to the cloud?
Well, I think there are some hybrid situations where it will fit more to some kind of businesses, but not going to the cloud anyway. I think it would be it wouldn't be a suggestion, an advice I would give to a company. I can't. Well, to be sincere, I can't tell you today a kind of business that wouldn't get the value of the cloud for at least one or two processes of one any part of the business. There may be some situations where, very specific situations, where it's important to keep the infrastructure. And I wouldn't even say it would last forever, just for a time, to consider TCO or investment that already have been done. But today I can see a company where I wouldn't fit moving to the cloud, at least in a little part of it, to make them do more with less.
Can you give an example? And you don't have to name any company names, but maybe you can give an example where you feel that a hybrid environment is more suitable for that particular organization. What are their business needs and requirements or concerns that would drive them towards a hybrid environment?
Well, I have been working in Brazil, for example, with mining companies and electrical distribution and production and generation, this kind of, and then we started talking about IoT, and that's this kind of customers won't be able to change or to move their infrastructure, their old infrastructure to the cloud, because there's a term, I don't remember exactly, depreciation. That's it. Their depreciation time, it's much bigger than the depreciation time we are used to deal with in IT. For example, when you buy servers, you can say you can deal with like 3 years of depreciation, or 3 to 5 years, that hardware won't have any value anymore. When you deal about with these kind of companies, their depreciation time are much bigger. It's like 10, even 20 years, the time that they won't change their infrastructure. And then this kind of situation, we have to understand exactly how to make this kind of infrastructure safe, and what it's possible are possible applications that can go to cloud and make it work better and spend less. But there are some situations with legacy databases and IoT infrastructure, for example, that we have to consider hybrid infrastructure.
Well, that's interesting. So it's not primarily a security concern that's keeping them in hybrid. It's more about the financial effects of not being able to depreciate those assets. Well, it's great. Hey, so I'm going to wind this up here, but I would like to hear about your plans for adaQuest in Brazil over the coming months and year.
Okay. Well, we have been offering assessments in Brazil, the same as we offer in the United States. We are focusing on the Office 365 security tune-up. It's a security assessment based on the Secure Score, and where we help companies to make the Secure Score go higher, and as the same, putting new technologies and implementing new features of their cloud. And we are focusing as well in GDPR or LGPD assessments, where we base our offering in a questionnaire and an analysis of the processes and infrastructure, and we do recommendations and roadmaps and implementations as well. We are very close to Microsoft, so we are also participating in Microsoft programs like the cloud economics assessment, the cloud immersion experience, and things like that. And we are trying to not focus in a specific vertical, but we are very close to Microsoft to look for customers who, for example, are Office 365 customers and need to evolve in concerning security. And we as well are attacking customers that are starting to move to the cloud, but we put our security posture in the beginning of this process, so that they go like with this as a first concern as well. And it has been very well received and accepted by Microsoft and every customer here in Brazil. And then we want to be recognized as a security company here in Brazil, since we are here for so little time. But by the end of the year, I think we'll be able to have like 20 or 30 different companies in our portfolio. I think companies from 1,000 to 10,000 users, and well, that's our goal for the end of the year, I think.
That's an impressive offering and some impressive goals. I'm pretty excited for adaQuest in Brazil, and you mentioned Microsoft a couple times. Where is it our office, the adaQuest office, located close to Microsoft's?
Yes. Our office in São Paulo, it's like across the street to where Microsoft office will move in 1 or 2 months. Their fiscal year is starting in July, and they are beginning their new fiscal year like across the street to where we are. We are not far from them today. It's, I don't know, like 10 minutes drive, but since we are very close to them in the United States, and we knew they would move, so we are, like, as I said, across the street to the Microsoft. How can I say that in English? The MCT, or
the technology center, Microsoft Technology Center.
Yes, exactly. The technology center. There is the only one here in South America. So, and we are very close to it, and we are very ready to take our customers there and show each and every technology that we are ready to sell and to help customers here in Brazil. So, and we are in Brasilia as well. I am based in Brasilia, and we don't have a physical office here, but I am very ready to visit and to deal with all the federal government customers here as well. So.
Excellent. Well, hey, João, I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy day. I know you got a lot on your plate, and you're running, as fast as you can down there, you and your team, to follow up on with our existing customers and all those opportunities. But it was great talking with you, and I look forward to checking back with you in a few months to talk about your progress, and then also any new developments in terms of the security market in Brazil. It was great talking with you.
Thank you so much. It's for me, it's very nice to have this opportunity as well. And I hope I can help you in adaQuest, United States. And I am very grateful for sharing experiences with you, as you are a little more time into this market in adaQuest. And well, I'm very excited to our opportunity here in Brazil. And I hope I can have you here in Brazil as well to visit us, and so we can celebrate our success in this 2019 year. Okay.
Well, absolutely. If we can just convince the the C-level guys to bring us all down there for Carnival next year, that would be great.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's hope for my success, and then after that, I think we'll be able to make this deal. Okay.
Sounds great. Well, you have a great day, and you take care.
You too, man. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Hello, welcome to Secure Talk, your trusted source of information on the latest threats, trends, tools, and technology related to cybersecurity and compliance. Join our hosts as they discuss a wide range of topics and speak with leading cybersecurity, technology, and compliance experts. Now is the time for Secure Talk.